So guys, after finishing talking about this page, which was about a world in one family, and then we have discussed the vocabulary exercise, I think it's the time to discuss this new page. Now, this new page is talking about word formation. Let's try to complete the word, which is act, in the sentences. And we have to use the suffixes from the box. When I say suffix, guys, is some letters I add to the end of any word just to change the part of speech of this word. We have RESS, ION, ING, IVE, IVITIES. Okay, number one is solved for us, which is saying my grandfather is 84 years old, but he's still very active. So we notice that active here is an adjective. Two, my sister is an act. She's often actress. Exactly. We notice that actress is a girl. What if I want to talk about a certain boy?
Actor.
Actor, exactly. I have to add OR. Okay, sweet. Act is not always a well-paid job.
Acting.
Acting. Thank you so much. So acting sometimes is not a well-paid job for. This is not a time to do nothing. It's a time for
Activities.
Action.
Okay. I suggest
Action.
Oh, okay.
Action.
I think we have to try to solve 5 just to know number 4. 5 is saying we do a lot of act in activities. Thank you so much. So here we notice that this is activities, IES, and the 4 is what is
Action.
it's the time for action. So we notice, guys, that if I want to add a certain suffix to a word, I will change the part of speech of this word. Saria is coming. Okay. Now the next exercise, which is 5, is talking words that go together. Now let's match the list A with list B. If I want to say cosmopolitan city. Now what about well-paid?
Job.
Well-paid job. Thank you so much. What about close-knit?
Family.
Close-knit family. Thank you so much. Drive.
Carelessly.
Carelessly. Thank you so much. Fall.
Fall in love.
Fall in love. Win.
Erase.
Win a race. Thank you so much. So we notice that these words go together. Okay. Now, exercise number 6 is saying keeping vocabulary records. Now, guys, too many students asked me this question in the past. Why do I forget the vocab fast? Why all the time, if I need them in speaking or maybe in writing, I don't find enough vocab in my mind? And this is why I always, let me say not always, but let me say I often stop speaking and stop writing if I'm writing any piece of writing, like email, letter, an essay, for example, or any piece of writing. Keep in mind, if you want to keep the vocabulary in your long-term memory, you have to do these things.
Good
1.
evening, doctor.
Good evening.
Doctor, my internet was pretty slow, so I had no idea what you were explaining for the first 2 exercises. So did you explain something important?
By the way, I'm recording this session, Rashid. You can watch the video the time you want just to be able to revise. But I can repeat talking about this exercise, which is 6. Okay.
Yes.
As I told you guys, some students asked me the question, which is, why do I forget the vocab fast? Why all the time, if I need vocab in speaking and writing, I don't find enough vocab? Let me say, I often stop speaking and stop writing because I don't have enough vocab just to use to complete my speaking or maybe to complete my...
And try to remember.
Exactly. And try to
Yes,
remember.
yes.
Yes, that is it. That's exactly. Okay. If you remember, guys, previously I told you that I have two kinds of memories. I have short-term memory and long-term memory.
Memory.
Exactly. Guys, please, if you want to put the vocab in a list and try to translate them literally, believe me, you will forget them fast. So if you want to write, for example, over, and translate this word into your mother language, for example, أعلى or خلال or finish, انتهى, or something like that, this is something bad because you will forget them fast. Even if you want to revise them and try to memorize them again, you will forget them again and over again. So this is something really bad. Try not to follow this module because as I
So
told...
this is short-term memory.
Exactly.
So this is
Ramzi.
short-term memory.
Yes, so I will put the vocab in my short-term memory, and believe me, you will forget them after maximum 1 month. And even if you want to revise them, you will forget them again. So the best solution is to keep the vocab in your long-term memory. Now, if you want to memorize the vocab and try to save them in your long-term memory, I have to do these things. One, notice that the question is saying, do you have a special notebook or do you record your vocabulary electronically? So this is the piece of advice number one. All the time I have to register the vocab. Okay? Two, do you write a sentence with the new word? All the time, guys, the new word should be written into context. If I put the new word in a certain example, or let me say a certain sentence, this is really good because, guys, one way just to keep the vocab and to memorize them for a long period of time is to put the vocab into examples, sentences, or let me say into a certain context. So this is piece of advice number two. Now, three, do you write the translation? Absolutely, I have to know the meaning of this vocab. And finally, what about a pronunciation? So, first of all, I have to register the vocab. If I want to write the vocab, guys, I will practice writing this new word because if you don't write it correctly, this is spelling mistake. So, first of all, I have to register, write the vocab, and I have to practice writing the new vocab. This is number one. Number two, I have to put this new vocab into context. Three, absolutely, I have to know its meaning. Finally, I have to check its pronunciation. So in this way, believe me, as I told you, you will memorize the vocab for a long period of time. Not only this, guys, and try to use the new vocab in your daily language. All the time, if you want to, as I told you, memorize, keep the vocab for a long period of time, try to practice it. Guys, the rule is still rule until you practice it. When you practice the rule, now this rule, let me say, will stay in your unconscious mind. Believe me, guys, when you start using the rule unconsciously, without thinking about the rule, now I can say you learned it. Because I know that, guys, if you want to speak, for example, you are thinking about the vocab, you are thinking about the tense, about the grammar, about word order, about too many things. And I know that this is something hard. If you keep thinking of these things, you haven't practiced using the rule or maybe the vocab yet. So please, the rule, any new rule, if you want to learn a new rule or a new vocab, practice it. Please practice it in your daily life just to keep it in your memory, okay?
Leonardo,
Hmm.
which is better to translate from English to Arabic or English to English.
To be
about
honest,
us as Arab
Ibrahim,
students.
I
Yes,
think you are level 5 now. Okay?
yes.
So I don't really recommend my students just to use the English Arabic language. If you are level 1, or let me say level 2, yes, it is
Mhm.
okay. Because I know that 90% of the words you still don't know. You still don't know about the rules, about the meanings of these words or vocab. So it's okay just to use the English Arabic translation. But just to practice, or let me say to progress faster, you have to use English, because guys, while reading the description or the definition of the new word, this is something amazing. Because let me tell you why. If you want to use any dictionary, you notice that after showing you the meaning of this new vocab, the dictionary, we notice that we have some examples about this new word. Now, this is true because, guys, I told you that you have to put the new vocab into what? Into context. This is really amazing. So after reading the definition in English, I'm talking now, after reading the definition and after checking the new vocab in new examples, this is amazing. And believe me, you will keep the vocab in your long-term memory, not short-term memory. Okay, Ibrahim?
And you may know multiple words at the same time.
Okay. Ibrahim, guys, let me
Yes.
show you something. I need to tell you something, and please listen to me carefully. I don't know if you have heard about context clues. All the time, guys, if I want to write any piece of writing, I have to use context clues. If you notice the professional writers around the world, I'm not talking about ordinary writers, I'm talking about the professional ones. All the time they use context clues. If I want to say context clues, I mean 4 things. I have this video on YouTube. Please watch it carefully. The writer, because guys, let's imagine that I want to write a short story. Now, I know that maybe my story is going to be read not only by English people, maybe some Arab people are going to read my novel, for example, or maybe people from Pakistan or Japan or China. And we notice that the English language is not their mother language. And this is something normal to not understand my writing. Now, my job is to make this word easier to the reader. To make it so, I have to do 4 things. 1, I have to give a synonym of the word I'm going to show you. 2, I have to use antonyms. 3, I have to mention a certain example or certain examples about the word that the reader doesn't know. 3, I have to define the unknown word. Guys, I'm using these 4 skills in my interviews, in my presentations, because this is something good. Let me give you an example. In the past, I had an interview and I came across to the word insomnia. The meaning of insomnia is inability to sleep. Okay? I haven't heard about this word before. And the assessor guys asked me about this word, which is insomnia. This is it. This is insomnia. Because it was the first time I heard about this word. I couldn't repeat it again. Because I couldn't repeat it, I don't want to show the assessor that I don't know the meaning of this word. I try to define it. So I said, let me tell you about the inability to sleep. What is the meaning of inability to sleep?
The inability to sleep.
Insomnia.
It's
Insomnia.
insomnia, exactly. So instead of showing to the examiner that I don't know how to pronounce this word, I defined this word. So the meaning of the inability to sleep is what? Is insomnia, to sleep. And even if I couldn't define the word, give a certain example. Guys, give an antonym if you cannot find a synonym. If you cannot pronounce or maybe write a certain word, all the time find a synonym. Find another meaning. If you can't, if you give up, try to find an antonym. If you can't, try to search for definition. If you can't, give a certain example. Let me show you this page. Wait. This is in reading. This is context clues. let me show you this page, and let me show you, for example, the best way just to learn new vocab. Let's imagine that I want to read this page, and I don't know the meaning of these words: injustice, numerous, and these words. Notice now I have to put this word, this vocab that I don't know, into context. So injustice, notice the example is saying some people spend their entire lives fighting injustice or what? Or unfairness. And notice, guys, that the writer mentioned what? Mentioned a synonym. Why? Because he knows that the reader maybe doesn't know the meaning of this word. So his or her job to mention a synonym. Because guys, if I want to write a certain book, for example, I need all people just to read my book. If I want to read a book I don't understand, I will never read this book. This is it. So notice that not only I wrote injustice, but I wrote another synonym. This is exactly what you have to do. This is, you have to use this skill not only in speaking, but also in writing. So notice, this is another example. I want to put captured, for example, into context. Notice the example is some leaders have captured or what? Or caught. I know that it's enough to say captured without caught. But I want to show a synonym, antonym, a certain example like this, for example. Or maybe, as I told you, you can define the unknown word. Notice a preferred or chosen. So this is exactly what you have to do just to keep the vocab into your long memory, and even just to survive from hard interviews, from hard speaking exams like IELTS exams, TOEFL exams. Because guys, in the IELTS exam, for example, you have to speak for a complete 13 minutes. And it's not that easy just to get a good score or band. Okay? Okay, so I think I have to go back to the passage. So please, guys, follow these steps as I told you, just to keep the vocab into your long-term memory. And plus, as I told you, please use the new vocab into your daily exercise. Okay. Guys, sometimes I have a word. This word has more than one pronunciation. For example, read. Notice that read, if I want to use read in the simple present, this is read. And if I want to use read in the simple past, this is read. But the pronunciation is different, because if you want to say read, now you are using the simple present. But if you want to say read, now you are talking about the simple past. Notice that they are the same, but they have different pronunciations. It's the same with this word. Notice that this word, I have it as a noun, and this word, I have it as a verb. Now, if you want to use this word as a noun, you have to say record. But if you want to use it as a verb, you have to say record. And there is a big difference between record and record. So keep in mind, please, that we have some words. Yeah, I know that they are the same in writing, but they have different pronunciations. And
But
if you want...
sorry, we pronounce the S?
If it is a plural, but let's without the S, this is what?
Okay.
Record.
Okay.
Okay, so record as a noun and record as a verb. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Now, guys, if you want to take a look at the end of this page, we have writing an informal letter. Absolutely, we have to learn how to write an informal letter. I know, guys, that in level 3, or let me say 4, we haven't written anything. If you want to ask me why, I wanted you first just to gather all the information and the grammar rules just to be able to be ready to write any piece of writing. We have to learn not only to write a certain letter, but we have to learn how to write an email. We have to know how to write a certain essay, for example, paragraph, article, report. Okay, I think now, guys, it's the time to learn how to write an informal letter. Let's go down. Let me check the page. This is on page, 103. So let me scroll down to page 103 and let's learn how to write an informal letter. No, this is 143. Sorry, this is 100. No, this is 100. And what? And 3 or 4? 3. Okay, let me scroll up. Up again. This is 5. This is 4. This is 3. Okay. Ali is coming. Let me zoom out. Okay, so guys, I think it's the time just to start discussing writing the informal letter. Keep in mind, guys, please, that we have a big difference, or there is a big difference between formal and informal letter. Now, if you want to write any letter, you have to keep in mind the steps I'm going to show. Keep in mind that the most important thing in writing the letter, the email, even the essay, is the structure. If your structure is wrong, your letter is useless. If the structure is wrong, absolutely, you did nothing. Let me give you an example. If any student in grade 12 or 11, for example, wrote the essay or write the essay in wrong structure, I'm not going to correct his or her essay. Why? Because the structure is the most important thing, not only in writing the letter, but also in writing the email, the article, the report, the paragraph, the essay. Okay, now let me show you the best way to write informal letter, because there is a big difference between formal and informal letter. First of all, you have to write the address. And notice that the address should be written in the right side of your page. This is number one. After finishing writing the address, and you have to write commas to separate the road from the building, from the street, from the address, from the city, from the country. Don't forget that you have to separate all of them using commas. Then you have to write the date. But let me tell you something concerning the date. In writing the date, do not, notice that I wrote commas. And the comma, notice that the comma to separate the day from the month. This is informal letter. If you want to write formal, do not use commas. You have to use slashes. So this is the first difference between formal letter and informal letter. So because now we are discussing writing the informal letter, it's okay to use commas, but in writing the formal, don't use commas, please. This is something bad. Then when you finish, skip a line. You have to skip a line. Then you have to write the opening statement. Keep in mind that in writing formal and informal letter, we have two important sections. One, this is the opening statement, and this is the closing statement. Do not forget them, please. Now I have to write the opening statement. In writing the opening statement, because you are writing informal letter, you can say hi. You can say hello. Okay, but if you are writing formal letter, don't say hi, please, because hi is informal. Hello is formal. Dear is formal. Okay? So it is okay to write dear in the informal, but don't use hi or say hi or write hi in the formal letter, please. So notice that dear Stephanie. Notice, guys, because this letter is informal.
Sorry, here it's informal letter, right? Okay.
Yes.
So can we write hi?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. You
Yes,
can
because
write
it's
hi.
Okay.
Ibrahim, you can say Muhammad. You can say how do you do? How do you do in the informal? It is okay, but don't use it in the informal. Don't say, for example, what's up? Hey, what's up? Don't say hey in the formal, please. Hey and hi are completely informal, not formal. Okay? So avoid
Yeah,
using them in writing the formal letter or even the email, guys. Guys, writing the email is approximately the same of writing the letter. And absolutely, if you are writing an email, for example, to a certain school, for example, me as a teacher, while applying to a certain school or certain schools in Gulf countries or any school in the world, my email should be formal. Please, I'm an English teacher. I cannot be informal person. This is something bad. Absolutely, the person is going to reject my email. My email and letter are going to be rejected. So please be careful. So after writing the opening statement, you have to skip a line, please. Skip a line immediately. Okay, now let me tell you something about the structure. You have two solutions in writing the letter or email. You can skip or let me say leave 2 inches before writing the first paragraph like this. Notice here I have 2 inches. Here we have 2 inches. Here we have 2 inches. Or if you don't want to leave any inch as a space, you have to skip a line between paragraphs. So you have 2 solutions or 2 structures. One, first of all, if you want to start writing or the beginning of every new paragraph, you have to leave 2 inches like this, because this is a new paragraph.
And we can use use both.
Don't, Ibrahim. If you use both, immediately your email is going to be rejected. Don't. The academic guys, the academic writing is saying you have to choose one of them. Don't mix them. This is completely wrong. If you want to do so, believe me, your email is not going to be written at all. And especially these days, because these days it's not people who are reading your email. Everything now is concerning AI. Okay? It's all about artificial intelligence, please. And the artificial intelligence, guys, has no mercy. I remember that while correcting some emails for my students, I was trying to neglect some tiny mistakes, but the machine has no mercy. If the machine discovers any slight mistake, your email is going to be rejected immediately, please. This is one reason why, because maybe you are applying now for certain jobs in Gulf countries, for example. If you want to ask yourself what is the main reason is this. Any slight mistake in writing the email or letter, they are going to be immediately rejected, please. Okay, so please choose one scheme just to start writing the letter. And keep in mind, please, guys, that every single paragraph is talking about one certain idea. Don't mix the ideas. If you want to start writing about something new, please start a new paragraph. Please. Okay? Now, I have to start writing. After finishing writing about the first idea, I have to skip a line, as I told you, I have to leave half an inch. After that, when I finish writing the second paragraph, I have to skip a line if I'm skipping lines, or maybe leave half an inch just to write the final idea. After that, I have to write the closing statement. As I told you, we have opening statement, this is it. And we have a closing statement, this is it. In the closing statement, if you are writing formal letter, the closing statement should be formal. But if you are writing the informal, it is okay to be informal like this. I would love to see you, but you cannot do this in writing the formal letter, because guys, maybe you are sending an email to a certain doctor, for example, or professor. The professor is not your friend to say, see you again, for example, or please let me see, or write to me soon. Come on, guys, only you have to use this language if you are sending emails or letters to your friends, people who you really know, people who are really close to you. But people, for example, like your boss or your teacher, you cannot do this like this, please, because you will never be answered at all. And this has happened to me when I was trying to send an email to my professor at university. He was all the time trying to neglect my emails. I sent at least 50 emails, and I said that this professor is really arrogant. Why didn't he respond my emails? Finally, when I learned how to write a correct email, he really responded, and he told me that thanks God, because now you know how to write a formal email. This is really important. Okay. After writing the closing statement, you have to write the signature. By writing the signature, absolutely, you have to write your name. But let me tell you something concerning writing the name. If you are writing formal letter, you have to write the first name and the second or the last name. Don't say only Stephanie. Stephanie whom? Please complete. Write the first name, your first name. You have to write the name, the full name of the person that you are sending the letter to, the full name. Again, if the letter is formal, but if it is informal, it's enough to mention only the first name. Not only in the opening statement, but also in the closing one, or in the, in the signature. In the signature, you
Even-
have to, huh?
Yes, even if we put like dear Dr. Stephanie, we
Yes.
have to mention the
Yes.
family.
Please, and Ibrahim, if you want to use nicknames like Doctor, like Mr., Mrs., don't forget to write the comma after nicknames.
And the family name.
The full name, the first name and
Full
the
name.
surname.
Mhm.
And even you, if you want to mention your name at the end as a signature, you have to write your full name.
Mhm.
Okay?
Okay.
This is number one. Number two, all the time, and please don't forget that after writing the opening and the closing statement, you have to write a comma, not full stop. Please, comma. I remember that a certain email was rejected because only that person wrote a full stop. Please, you have to write a comma because you haven't finished yet. You are starting writing the information. Only if you want to mention the full stop in writing the signature. When writing the signature and after writing the full name, yes, now you can write the full stop. But with the closing statement and the opening statement, you have to use commas, but not full stops, please. Okay, guys?
Even at the end of every paragraph.
The end is all the time is writing.
We cannot put point.
Brahim, the ending of the email or the letter is not the closing statement. It is the signature. So you haven't finished yet. You cannot write a full stop and you want to add something new.
Okay, full stop at the end of the idea. We cannot.
Yes, at the end of the letter, exactly. Yes.
No, the idea, the first.
Yes, like this, exactly. At the end of the sentence, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Okay, guys.
Okay.
So this is it. This is writing. And there is something you have to know, please. Notice that in writing the informal, I used abbreviation. Notice Notice here But in writing the informal, avoid using abbreviations, please. This is extremely bad. Okay?
So doctor, in informal, we can use its